trying to tell me something right before the end of the break, and I wasn't sure what it was, but I don't see Maddy Skye on my screen, so I'm guessing you were telling me that Maddy is not available or is delayed or
delayed a little bit.
Delayed a little bit. Just a little bit. All right. And I mean, when you say a little bit, you mean almost instantly, because now Maddy Skye is on the screen as she joins us every week, the food and culture editor of the San Antonio Express News. Maddy, how's your week?
It's going well. Yeah, it's going well.
You seem a little, I mean, you know, now that you're an editor, are you coming from one meeting to another? I mean, you seem a little, I don't know, flustered?
No, not flustered today. I just was waiting on James's call. I was checking the time, but I was in the middle of a story.
In the middle of a story. What's been the big news in San Antonio for you this week?
Well, unfortunately, I think the biggest news across Texas is the Astroworld disaster. And so being that San Antonio is so close to Houston, and we've had a lot of people that were there, a lot of people that were affected, and it's just a national disaster.
Maddy, I lost your audio. Is that on our end or her end? I think her earbuds died right in the middle of that, so we will reconnect. And again, you know, she's talking about the Travis Scott concert where, you know, people tragically lost their life, trampled down at the concert, and just a scary situation. And, you know, and I'm a big concert goer. Love going to concerts, go to a lot of concerts. Now I'm 5'7", so I hate being down on the floor and in a sea of people because it never fails. If I'm in a standing room only type of situation, I'm behind a dude that's 6'3". It always works that way. If I'm at Green Hall, if I'm at Flores Country Store, no matter where you end up, or at a big concert like that, you know, like the River City Rock Fest, if you get out there in the middle of that sea of people, I'm always behind a really tall guy. Don't really like that. But then you get a situation like what you had down there in Houston. And as we try to get reconnected with Maddy, let me know when Maddy can hear us. You see a situation like what we saw in Houston, and it's just tragic. Everybody wants to point fingers, and I see people pointing fingers at Travis Scott. And he is the last one that I think you point fingers at, because it could have been any concert where something like that happens. And it's just sad and tragic. And you start looking at a lot of different reasons. And there's a lot of people that are going to end up paying, getting sued in this kind of situation. But it really was just a tragic series of events.
Yeah, you mentioned the suing. Thomas J. Henry is leading a lawsuit of, so far, I think he has close to 70 plaintiffs against Travis Scott, the promoters, I think NRG Stadium as well. So
yeah, everybody associated with it. I think one of the interesting things, and you know, one as a major concert goer, and you go to a lot of concerts as well, Maddy. You know, you go to a lot of events and you don't think about things like that happening, right? And now it might be in the back of your mind, kind of like the situation at the country concert in Las Vegas a couple of years back. But also I look at my daughter who wants to be in the concert promotion type business, work for like a Live Nation and put on events like that. So her and I have been talking about the news that we've been hearing about the planning that goes into it. And I think the most bizarre thing that I've read is in planning for an event like this, if there is a casualty, they don't say dead person or deceased, they call them Smurfs, which I thought, boy, what a weird code word, Smurfs.
Yeah, I guess saying dead person over the radio can cause some panic.
Sure.
But yeah, there's a lot of things about concert hosting and promoting that I think the general public doesn't understand or really think about. But honestly, the whole situation of crowd surges are something that's always in my mind at like festivals like that, because you can feel once the countdown, once the act takes stage, you can kind of feel that energy and people getting closer. I know I saw the Chili Peppers in Austin a few years ago, and we had stayed there it was Ice Cube first and then the Chili Peppers. And as soon as the Chili Peppers were closer to coming on stage, people were just kind of crowding in towards, and we weren't even like right at the front. We had a good distance from it, but you could feel it. Same thing when I went to see Cardi B at Luna. Tyler, the Creator, I had got there early to get a good spot, but Tyler, the Creator, came on before Cardi B. And I was kind of by myself at that festival. And that fear of getting squished or trampled in one of the moshes was definitely felt. And I retreated back and kind of lost, and I was okay losing my spot and seeing her from further away because I wasn't about to get stuck and all of that.
Well, and I don't want to sound like that guy, but especially as a female, you have to deal with other things as crowds get in there because people's hands are in places, and it's just you get in a situation like that. But I don't know that you ever think. I mean, yeah, there's a comfort level, and when the crowd gets too close or too pushy, you get out of there if you're uncomfortable. And especially in my younger days when you'd be down there in the mosh pit and it feels like crop circles, I got out of there, man. I'm 5'7". I'm but I never thought I would see kind of what we saw down there in Houston.
Yeah, I had a friend who was there also by herself at Astroworld, and she was okay, and she really didn't see any of the really tragic scenes that we're seeing online. But she said that you didn't really have a chance to get out if you wanted to. She had like a very split-second chance to get out of this crowded area. So it's either you saw an opportunity and you took it, or you kind of were SOL for the entire show if you were one of those really cramped situations. So I don't think that you had a lot of opportunity once you're stuck in it to get out.
I wonder, for every reaction, there was a cause. I wonder what the reaction will be here. How do you go about preventing something like this when you've got an open stage concert with standing room only seats and you get a sea of people that are on the floor somewhere, not in stadium seats or whatnot? I don't know what the answer is unless they did a bunch of much smaller corrals, if you will. But I don't know how you fix that. How do you, even if you limited the number, it's the people then how they act when they start the surge. And for whatever reason, the guy that's 50 rows back thinks he wants to get to the front row, even if he has to push his way up there.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess, limiting the tickets would maybe be helpful in those situations, because in that case, you have more room to get away from people like that if you wanted to. Like at ACL or Luna, I didn't want to be in that situation, so I got out of it. But here it was like so packed, you had nowhere to go if you were in a situation like that.
Absolutely. And again, I look at Travis Scott, his name associated with this, and I don't blame the artist. It was his concert, yes, but I have a hard time pinning it on any one artist unless he said something that said, everybody come up as close, which I don't believe happened. I just don't like putting the artist and pointing blame that way, personally. Maddy Skye joining us here on the Blitz, as she does every Wednesday. Food and culture editor with the San Antonio Express News. What's happening here in our great city?
Let's see. We have Luminaria coming up, which comes on the heels of Diwali, which a lot of people really enjoyed last weekend at Hemisphere. So now they're bringing in Luminaria. Luminaria did not happen last year because of the pandemic, and it is a free open air arts festival. So you have everything from the traditional art to performance art to poetry, music, all that good stuff. And it's happening this Saturday from 6 to midnight. It is free, but I also want people to keep in mind that what else is also happening downtown in the area on Saturday, the Alamo Dome UTSA game. So there might be some overflow of traffic. It starts at 2:30, so I'm guessing it kind of might overlap 2:30, 6. So keep that in mind when you're looking for parking and trying to get down there. So downtown San Antonio will be very exciting this weekend with the UTSA game and Luminaria all happening in that kind of same general area.
Absolutely. And again, I'm going to the UTSA game on Saturday, although I'll get there much earlier because tailgating will start early. Kickoff at 2:30. I probably won't get there till noon. I've got to pace myself at my age. I don't want to get there at 9 a.m. and start drinking and make it through a football game.
I can handle that.
I can handle that. Well, yeah. Wow. Thanks for the pep talk, Maddy. I know I was at Worstfest last night. And, there was, it didn't happen last year. And if you remember Worstfest, the building burned. And so they've rebuilt it. Worstfest is back. And it's always nice to go on a Tuesday because it's not as crowded. Although I couldn't believe how crowded it was last night. Now, for a Tuesday night, I was thinking a lot of people either they just want to get back to doing it. They want to get back to getting out and doing things. And Worst Fest is one of those things. And man, I don't want to say and mislead, and it didn't feel like a Friday or Saturday night, but it was a lot more crowded than I thought it was going to be for a Tuesday.
Really? I've only ever been on a weekend. I've actually only been once, so.
You've only been to Worst Fest one time in your life?
Mm-hmm.
You need to change that. You need to change
I'm
that.
I'm not really big on beer. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they have other things there, Maddy. They have other things.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. You're not going. You're not going. I mean, you can just say you're not going. Got to go and get a pork chop.
Hold on. I don't know.
As a foodie, and you are, it's in your title, you've got to go up there and get a pork chop on a stick. It is incredible. Okay. Their pork chops on a stick are incredible. They really are. You're not impressed. Look at you.
Not really. Not really.
You're not impressed. Maddy, always appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have fun. Maddy Skye, the food and culture editor of the San Antonio Express News. Make sure you're following her on Twitter at Maddy Skye, SKY.